Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Another summer series that evolved into a short-run regular season series, The Jack Paar Show. And if that name sounds familiar, many of you who are my age or a little bit older probably remember him as the host of The Tonight Show between Steve Allen and Johnny Carson. He had a good long run, and I should say a not uncontroversial run in that fashion. Jack Paar originally broadcast, this is the fourth show of the series, June 22nd, 1947.
This week, number 8 on your hit parade. Sorry, wrong program.
From Hollywood, Lucky Strike presents the Jack Paar program with songs by Trudy Irwin, the Page Cavanaugh Trio, Jerry Fielding in the orchestra, yours truly, High Aberback, and starring America's new young humorist, Jack Paar.
Thank you. You're very kind. This is Jack Paar. Hello, and to that lady on a picnic listening to me on her portable radio. Madam, your child is smearing jam all over my volume control. Before we go any further, here's the weather forecast for Washington, D.C. Cloudy, followed by continuing vetoes. I understand that Congress has a new theme song this week. It's called I'm Just Mild About Harry. Well, here we are on our fourth week replacing Jack Benny. I'll bet that President Truman would love to get a summer replacement for Senator Taft. Radio's really getting ready for the hot weather. Take Gabriel Heater. They've turned Heater down to his pilot light. This summer, we're going to hear a great many mystery shows on the air. All the private eyes are wearing sunglasses, you know. Mystery shows are great for hot weather, though. You get frightened, your hair stands on end, and you can ventilate your head. Well, I feel like I'd sneak in every script, you know. They all can't be gems. We're still friends, aren't we? I hear that on Inner Sanctum they've taken down... I hear that on Inner Sanctum they've taken down the creaking door and put up a screen. That's to keep the bats and spiders in. Personally, I like those mystery shows. Ever since I was a kid, I've been crazy about blood and detectives and murder. Maybe I was born with a silver knife in my back. I don't know. And did you see where Lassie the dog has her own radio program? Confidentially, she's not the same sweet pup she used to be. I met her at the studio this morning, and she wouldn't even wag at me. Maybe success has gone to her tail. I don't know. How do you like that, a dog putting on the dog? But that's summer radio. It's a matter of economy. You see, in the winter they say, Mr. Benny, how do you want your salary this week? Cashier's check or stocks and bonds? To me, they say, hey, kid, how do you want it, heads or tails? Hey, have you ever looked at those movie magazines? There is some fascinating reading, believe me. I read one the other day. There were such educational articles as how an average Hollywood family gets along on as little as $4,000 a week. And how to make this year's husband last another year. Another big feature of the movie magazine was the interviews with the stars. For instance, in one interview, Margaret O'Brien's mother said that she wanted her daughter to grow up like any other normal American child, and therefore she was limiting Margaret to 28 ice cream cones a day. In another interview, Errol Flynn said that his hobby was acting, but that he doesn't have time for it. Now, what about those interviews? What is the movie star really thinking when he's being interviewed? And what's the reporter thinking? Do they actually mean the things they say to each other? Shall we find out?
We take you now to the home of that dashing leading man, Gregory Parr, as he welcomes Constance Vanderskin, reporter from Screen Gush magazine.
Hello, Gregory, darling. Oh, it was so grand of you to give me a few moments of your time. I've been waiting just ages for this interview.
Ages? It was either interview him or trigger the horse. And just my luck, Trigger's out of town.
Isn't that nice, Connie, dear? And I must say you look just grand. Yes, indeed, you seem to get younger every time I see you.
Younger, this is the only dame I know whose crow's feet wear open-toed shoes.
Kind, Greg, darling. But now I think we should start our interview.
All right, Connie, dear. What would you like to know about little old me?
I hope she doesn't ask me about my last picture. What a clinker. The two Mrs. Nussbaums.
Greg, what you do in your spare time would certainly be interesting to my readers.
It would be more interesting if my readers could read.
Well, I've always been mad about active sports, polo, boxing, wrestling, anything that's rough and dangerous.
I hope she doesn't notice I forgot to put my knitting needles away.
Well, I can't believe you're the athletic type. I saw you in bathing trunks once. Ooh, what a physique. You're so masculine, so vibrant, so alive.
I bet when he gets on the scales, instead of a fortune, the car just has a phone number of Forest Lawn on it.
Yes, I have developed quite a physique. My neck measures 17 and a half inches, you know.
17 and a half inches?
That's right.
I wonder if she knows that includes my shoulders.
Of course, you understand, Connie, that sports are not my only hobby.
Really?
Yes, I'm quite a bookworm. Read all the classics, Shakespeare, Longfellow, Shaw.
I'm all set if she asks me about Dick Tracy.
Anything else, Connie?
Yes. Tell me, Greg, how did you happen to meet your charming wife, Gwendolyn?
Charming wife. She's probably loaded as usual. And upstairs looking for a bottle and the chandelier.
Well, we met long before I became a star, and we've come up together the hard way.
I hope Gwendolyn doesn't get electrocuted fooling around with that chandelier.
I see. Well, just one more question and then I'm through. What are your plans for the future, Greg, darling?
Well, very soon I hope to put my dear old mother in a home, you know, my home. I'm really crazy about her. She's 70, you know.
I have to do something for the old lady. Last week she lost her job setting up pins in a bowling alley.
My, how sweet. Well, Greg, it's been a grand interview, and when it's published, I'm sure all your fans will send you loads of mail.
If he's smart, he won't open anything that ticks.
Thank you, Connie. It's been a pleasure, but next time you drop in, please let me know in advance so I can be ready.
This will teach me not to go so long between permanents.
Well, goodbye, Greg, dear.
Goodbye, Connie, darling.
Do you wonder what some of today's people are thinking or not thinking as they're interviewed? There you have an idea of what Jack Paar thinks, just for fun, of course. Jack Paar Show, June 22nd, 1947. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox right here on your favorite radio station. Hey gang, just a note to let you know that we've notified all of our radio stations that our final episode of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox will be broadcast on all of our radio stations on June 30th of 2023. It is not something of your radio station. It's not because you haven't been responsive. It's because my doctors have said I need to take time off, and I need to take a significant time off. I can no longer work 90 hours a week. It's just that simple. So to let you know, listen to the shows, enjoy the shows while you can. Go to our friend Ted at RadioMemories.com. He supplies a lot of shows. And go to our webpage at classicradio.stream and learn how you can build your own classic radio collection. But again, June 30th will end Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. While Jack Paar was the second host of The Tonight Show, he actually made it to where people who would stay up and say, next day at work, did you hear what Jack Paar said last night? He did lots of outrageous things, at least for the time. He walked off the show for 3 weeks because NBC censored a joke, thinking that a joke about a water closet, that's what they call overseas the bathroom. They didn't think it was appropriate, even at 11:30 at night. Go figure. But he walked off the show and came back, and NBC apologized. What can I say? He was a controversial figure and ahead of his time in a lot of ways. June 22nd, 1947, more of the Jack Paar Show here on Classic Radio Theater with me, Wyatt Cox.
Friends, did you know that a recent radio survey showed that 1 out of every 3 people in the United States is now a disc jockey? Everybody's becoming a disc jockey. Woody Herman, Tommy Dorsey, and even Paul Whiteman. A funny thing, though, for years people thought Whiteman was playing records. Then one night he stepped aside and there was a 56-piece orchestra behind him. As a result of this disc jockey epidemic, our country's turning into a nation of record fans. How will this affect the next generation? Will the kids of the future be born with holes in their heads? Will their mothers transcribe them for release at a more convenient bedtime? And will large families come in albums? The disc jockey is a product of today, which is one of the few things our ancestors can be thankful for. See, how about that? If there had been radio in the days of our ancestors, would they have had disc jockeys? Can you imagine them running wild a century ago among composers like Bach or Beethoven or Schubert? Way back there when Daniel Boone was trapping for I.J. Fox? Here's how it would sound if there had been radio 100 years ago.
And so we conclude another chapter in the true life story of René Latouche, girl candle snuffer. The story of one girl's struggle with Louis XIV. We urge you, one and all, monsieur, mesdames, and peasants, to tune in again tomorrow at the same time. This is NBC, the Napoleon Broadcasting Company.
The time is now 8:30. Gruen Curvex sundial time. Remember the Curvex, the only sundial that's curved to fit your lawn. And now, loyal subjects of the king, here is your favorite disc jockey. The show that has the F-Cats jumping from Marseille to Mobile. Jack Paar's Platter Parade.
Hail and forsooth, gang. This is your favorite knave, Jack Paar, with another solid record show. Yea, and verily, cats, we're really going to have a time tonight. All new releases. We're going to back into Bach, chop some Chopin, and poo-poo some Paganini. And later on, as our guest tonight, we're going to have Franz Schubert, whom we all know as Frankie Boy. By the way, serfs, the first quarter hour is brought to you by Honest Pierre, the used horse dealer. Friends, are you still riding around on last year's horse? Wouldn't you like to get a new 1848 horse without paying a penny under the tail? Well, Honest Pierre has just received a shipment of brand new horses with such outstanding features as white sidewall horseshoes and rear vision saddle. Remember, I'll wait for you out there. Remember, horse drivers, Honest Pierre's nags contain knee action. If they won't go, kick them with your knees. All prices are FOB Arabia. And now, cats, our first record. It's a new little ditty by Wolfgang Mozart, and Wolfie tells me it really jumps. Yea, verily, it's groovy. Here it is recorded by Sir Guy Lombardo, the sweetest music this side of Hanover. All right, Sir Guy. Thank you, Sir Guy Lombardo. By the way, kids, that was Popsy Schneerbaum on the first flugelhorn. Incidentally, that number was played for Igor, Boris, Ivan, and all the gang over at the Siberian salt mines. And the next quarter hour is brought to you by the Acme Powdered Wig Company. So now comes a bit of a transcription.
Good news from the Acme Powdered Wig Company, makers of fine wigs for over 2,000 heads. Yes, Acme wigs now come in 3 convenient sizes. Long, very long, and, hey, who turned out the lights? So, buy an Acme wig today, and soon all your friends will be saying,
"She's lovely. She's engaged. She's bald."
Ah, yes, good old Acme powdered wigs. No fooling, varlets. Acme wigs are so realistic, even dandruff can't tell the difference. And now back to the record rack, and we have for you a brand new pop tune, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. This, of course, was written by that popular young composer, Ludwig von Beethoven. Nice going, Lud. We're going to hear this new symphony recorded by that young musical nobleman, Count Spike de la Jones. Spike has arranged this symphony for 2 oboes and a water hydrant. All right, here we go. Beethoven's Fifth, recorded by Count Spike de la Jones and his orchestra, and I'll be back with you in just a minuet. Zooks, that was really solid, Gates. Before I forget, that last tune was dedicated to Napoleon and Josephine, who are celebrating their 3rd year in exile today. Good luck, kids. And now, cats, gather around. It's time for our special guest. Here he is, that solid sending scribbler of songs, Franz Unfinished Symphony Schubert. Come in, Franz. It's nice having you with us.
Thank you. It gives me real kicks to be here with you solid. Ach, du Wauter Ballerini.
And it's good digging you again, France. What have you been doing with yourself?
Oh, the same thing I've been doing for years. Trying to finish that darn thing.
Well, Franz, tell us, what's new in the symphony racket these days?
Well, now, let me see. Oh, yeah, that young kid, what's his name again? Oh, yeah, Chopin, Freddy Chopin. Well, he just wrote a thing called Polonaise. It's nothing, strictly schmaltz. He's a nice kid, that Chopin, but no talent.
Too much, maybe, mayonnaise in the Polonaise, perhaps. Franz, you just can't brush Chopin off like that. His stuff's creating quite a stir around the music halls. What about that latest number of his, the funeral march?
It's the funeral march. Believe me, nobody will ever dance to it.
Franz, I'm surprised to hear you talk this way about a young composer. Isn't it true that you wrote a symphony at the age of 3?
Yeah.
Well, just think, a complete symphony at the age of 3. It's amazing.
What's so amazing? It was lousy.
June 22nd, 1947, the Jack Paar Show here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll hear the conclusion of the program along with the conclusion of a yours truly Johnny Dollar story. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox right here on your favorite radio station. Just going to take a minute here to tell you about the big savings going on now, the clearance sale at mypillow.com. And you know, I've talked about how in my office I have a pair of my slippers, and they're really comfortable, and they're on clearance right now. The mypillow.com slippers, $25 a pair, limit 10. And I would buy 3 or 4 more pairs. Unfortunately, they're out of my size. They also have sheets, pillowcases, clothing items, all on special right now. Go to mypillow.com, click on the clearance tab at the top of the page, use my promo code Wyatt, or call 1-800-928-4715. Limited sizes remaining in the MyPillow slippers, limited colors on other items. mypillow.com, clearance tab, promo code Wyatt, 1-800-928-4715. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station. Now the conclusion of the Jack Paar Show. This episode was originally broadcast June 22nd, 1947.
But it's still so unbelievable. A 3-year-old child writing an entire symphony.
Well, there was nothing else to do. I was too young to go with girls.
I'll bet you wrote that symphony on 3-cornered sheet music, maybe, huh? Tell me, Franz, is it true that a lot of your work has been influenced by Ludwig von Beethoven?
Pa, are you joking? Ludwig von Beethoven, that schmo influenced me?
Take it easy, Frankie boy.
I can't help it. All the time I'm hearing this with this influence. And what is this Beethoven bomb right, anyway? Symphonies, nothing but symphonies. Like that 5th symphony of his. Da-da-da-da. That's music, da-da-da-da. That's knocking on the door, Richard. I'm so mad at this man, I could kill him. I could scream. Believe me, he did not influence me.
Franz, I think you've got bats in your Beethoven, I do. Look, there's something else I want to ask you. Is there any truth to the Swing Alley talk that you're forming a new hot trio?
Oh, yeah. We are going to call ourselves Franz Schubert und his Wiener Schnitzel 3.
Wiener Schnitzel 3. The boys jump?
Jump? Believe me, strictly wunderbar Melorene. We got Johannes Brahms on the cello. Good boy, that Johnny. And on the harpsichord, we got Franz Liszt, also a good man. And once he played with Beethoven. Beethoven, he did not influence me. He did not influence me. And on the violin is me, also a good man.
I'm sure of that, Franz, and I'm going to put a plug in here for you right now. By the way, cats, the Wiener Schnitzel 3 is available for picnics, weddings, and guillotine parties. How's that, Franz?
Absolutely zooty. But I think you might also mention the trio opens Saturday night at the sign of the Old Boar's Head Inn.
Oh, yes, that place right next door to the sign of no vacancy. Did you get all that, cats? Let's really turn out Saturday and give Franz and the boys a great big...
Excuse me, Jacques, Madame, Monsieur, and peasants. We must interrupt this broadcast for urgent news. The palace guards have just overthrown the king. The annual spring revolution is now officially underway.
Sorry, Platter fans. Due to circumstances beyond our control, this program will now come to you from a more convenient country. We're a little late, folks, so bonsoir.
June 22nd, 1947, Jack Paar here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Paar did quite a bit of radio performing along the line. Jack Benny, this was the summer replacement for Jack Benny. And Benny suggested Paar serve as his 47 summer replacement. Paar enough of a hit that Benny's sponsor decided to keep him on the air, moving him to ABC. Paar later refused American Tobacco's suggestion he come up with a weekly running gag or gimmick, saying he wanted to get away from that kind of old hat comedy, the kind being practiced by Benny and Fred Allen. And very quickly, they canceled the show. So there you go. And Paar got the endearing image of a spoiled kid. A profile by Paar by the Museum of Broadcast Communications suggested that Paar later emulated Benny's mannerisms. So there you go. You criticize the man and criticize the style of comedy, and then you imitate the same stuff. He did some movie work. He did some TV work. He did the morning show in 1954 on CBS before moving on to NBC and the Jack Paar Tonight Show. The Tonight Show starring Jack Paar, and that ran, as I said, from 1957 and ran all the way through 1962. Jack Paar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, follows these important messages. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now we wrap it up. Part 5 of the 5-part Yours Truly Johnny Dollar story, The Pearling Matter. This episode was originally broadcast June 22nd, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
This is Janice Floyd, Mr. Dollar.
Hello.
I understand you don't quite believe that Jeannie Pearling is dead.
That's about right.
I'm really not concerned one way or the other what you believe or disbelieve. I do know that I've been through quite an ordeal lately, and if you have any plans for interfering or bothering me in any way, I'll call the police.
All right.
I hope you understand that.
I do.
Well then, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Eastern Liability and Trust Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Pearling matter. I wrote to Morton Scottman at Eastern Liability, and I explained the circumstances under which I had arrived in New Orleans and located Jeannie Pearling. I enclosed her death certificate and the medical statement. I also reported on the conduct of her ex-roommate, Janice Floyd. Then I sat down and called Janice on the phone.
Hello?
This is Johnny Dollar, Miss Floyd.
Yes.
I think it's time we had a talk.
Mr. Dollar, we have nothing to discuss.
I think we have.
What?
How you're being taken.
Taken? By whom?
By a couple of people.
Goodbye,
Look,
Mr.
don't hang up on me, Miss Floyd. I came down here to find Jean Perling. I'm with an insurance company. It was my job to check on a story her father told. Finding her was part of it. Let me come over and talk to you.
I'll be home tonight.
The apartment was 6 blocks from the hotel. I walked it for a reason. All kinds of people have followed me at one time or another, and I've followed all kinds of people. But the man who followed me off and on in New Orleans, the big blonde man with a .38, knew what he was doing. He was a professional. I made up my mind about that the first time I saw him. And I thought I was ready for him, but I wasn't. He waited until the streetlights got dim and no one was in sight. I vaguely remember that he caught me under the arms and laid me gently down on the street. That was all.
Easy, buddy, easy. You've been making too much whoopee.
Oh.
You folks visiting down here ought to be more careful.
Oh.
Get your suit all dirty. I wouldn't have found you, but my cab conked out right here.
Oh, my head. The side of my head.
You must have fallen hard. You had enough for tonight, or you want to keep going?
Oh, I've had plenty.
Yes, sir. I'll call a doctor.
No. Help me. I'll be all right.
You're easy now. Easy.
Thanks. What time is it?
Almost midnight.
2 hours.
Where you want to go?
Westland Street.
Get in. Get in.
Expense account item 16, $10. To one good Samaritan cab driver who picked me up and dropped me at Janice Floyd's apartment. I was still weaving on my feet when I tapped on the door.
Mr. Dollar, you've been hurt. Come in.
I'm all right. Packing?
Yes, I've decided to leave town. Tonight, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I thought it'd be something like that. Did a big fella, a blonde man, have anything to do with your decision to leave?
That's none of your business.
Let me tell you my business, Miss Floyd. I came down here to see Jean Perling.
You saw her. She's dead.
Yes, I saw her, dead. Yesterday, I mailed a copy of her death certificate to New York.
Well, then what else? What other business?
The man who came here yesterday and reported to you, the man who told you I'd left town and you could breathe easier again, the same man who called you later and told you I was still around, still asking questions. He's my business. He followed me on my way here tonight. He slugged me.
I don't believe you're telling me the truth.
What's his name? Any idea why he carries a gun?
Carries a gun? You're making all this up.
Why would I? I've got what I came for, or practically what I came for, legal proof of the whereabouts of one Jean Perling.
If Al hit you, he was trying to protect me.
Now listen to me. I think I have pretty much of it in hand. Now you tell me if I'm wrong. First off, you're not any Janice Floyd. I'd guess that Janice Floyd was the girl who died of leukemia. I've got her picture in my wallet. It was given to me by David Perling, who said it was his daughter.
This is all crazy.
Before you go into that, listen. I can have that body exhumed. I don't want to do it, but I will if I have to. Now, do you want me to do that?
All right. I'm Jean Perling.
And that was the Floyd girl who died?
Yes. She was sick, and, well, I knew my father had detectives looking for me. I just never wanted to see him again or go home again. It seemed if poor Janice were dying and she had no one, if she somehow had my name, and, well, I'd never be bothered with my family again.
That was a pretty idea. Was it yours?
Al and I thought of it.
Al?
Al Britt.
The blonde guy. Okay, how'd he work it?
He saw to it that Janice had my name. I know it was against the law, but well, she had no one, and if she was buried with my name, then I'd be free of my family.
Well, that took some managing.
They hate me. They always have. I want my own life.
I don't blame you. You're entitled to it. Are you sure that's what you're getting?
I'm going to marry Al, no matter what. If you go back and tell them, well, that'll be that. If you let me stay dead, I
can't let that happen.
Why not? Why not, Mr. Dollar? What harm would it do?
Let your father make a fool out of you?
I don't understand.
You're worth $100,000.
What?
Cold, hard cash. An irrevocable trust was set up on you when you were born. Comes to you when you're 25. That'll be next month.
I don't care about the money.
Now, wait a minute. In the event you should die before your 25th birthday, the money would revert to your nearest of kin.
My father?
Your father.
But I'm dead on paper.
Uh-huh.
Then Al.
Somebody paid him. probably your father, to make love to you.
Oh, no. No.
Get out of here, Dollar!
Al, wait!
I told you this man meant nothing but trouble.
He knows all about it.
Oh, he can't prove a thing. Get out of here, you!
Take it easy, Britt.
Al!
Yes, honey.
I know about you.
Honey, I don't know what to say.
Go. Just go, please.
He went. He looked at both of us as he went out the door. It was sort of a whip look, the way a puppy stares at you when you've caught him chewing on a slipper. I sat a while with Jean Perling. She didn't say much. There wasn't much she could say. I told her I didn't think there was any reason for her to go back to New York unless she wanted to. She said she didn't want to go, didn't know what to do at the moment, and, well, we left it at that. I went back to my hotel and tried to get some sleep. About 6 o'clock in the morning, I got up, bathed, shaved, and packed. By 7:30, I had breakfast and was just about to check out.
Hello?
Hello, Britt.
Leaving?
That's right.
I'd like to talk first.
Sure. Okay.
You messed it up fine for her and me. I tried to call her this morning and she hung up on me. I went over there, she wouldn't let me in.
I don't blame her, do you?
I guess I don't. I decided to leave town.
Yeah, maybe that's better.
I don't know whether it is or not. You make it hard for a guy to talk.
All right, now look at it my way. This whole thing's been rotten. I met her father, and I know what kind he is. I know what he's done to her, what he'll do to her if she goes back. And then there's you, Britt, the hired man. You went in and made love to her for a salary. I didn't like it having to tell her that, and it must hurt. It must hurt pretty bad. So you see, I'm not too interested in what you might have to say or what you're going to do.
Wait. You're right reading me out this way. I deserve it. The old man found out where she was 4 months ago. I found out for him. I knew the girl she was living with had leukemia. I planned the whole switch. I put it to her the way she explained it, about being dead to keep away from her old man.
Of course, you didn't mention that $100,000 he could get his hands on once she was dead.
No, I didn't. But something funny happened to me, Dollar. I mean, I've done my share of dirty jobs. I've seen a lot of the human race. Taking a salary to make a sucker out of her didn't bother me at all. Not at first. And then I found out when she touched my face, I lived for that touch. And when I held her, she lived for me. I never thought it had happened to me, but it did. Yeah, if you see her again, Dollar, tell her I was trying to stop it. I mean, all this part. But it was too late. Funny how things turn out, huh?
Yeah. Funny. Expense account item 17, $42.13, hotel and board bill. Item 18, $101 even, airplane ticket back to Hartford. Item 19, $1 cab fare. I stopped by her apartment on my way to the airport.
Oh, I thought you'd left, Mr. Dollar.
Well, came to say goodbye. How's it going today?
All right. I have some brandy.
No thanks. Jean.
Yes?
You going to New York?
No, I'll stay here a while. I don't want to see my father or mother.
How about Al Britt? He wants to see you.
Let's not talk about him, shall we? Do you think I'm a nice girl? Do you think my $100,000 will attract a lot of nice, eligible young men to me? Do you think
Oh, stop it. You'll burn your brakes.
Johnny.
Oh, no. Here.
I know what he did. I know why he did it. But I love him. He did his job too well.
Yeah. He could tell you what he started out to do and what happened to him with you. He could tell you if you let him.
He told you?
Yeah.
What kind of a trick is it?
No trick. Couldn't be. The guy's too mixed up. Tell you what, he'll try again. When he calls up next time, talk to him.
Why should I?
Because you may not have a mother and father or anyone else, but you do have him. And you will have him as long as he lives, if you want him. And that's what you've been looking for all your life. Someone to have. I'd take him if I were you. Item 20, $10. Miscellaneous. Total expense account, $714.35. Remarks, none. Report, she took him. They were married in Tampa this morning. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now, here's our star to tell you about next week's intriguing story.
Next week, a lonely girl, a fine young man, a gentle father, and one of them is a killer. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in this week's cast were Mary Jane Croft, Forrest Lewis, Jeanette Nolan, Russell Thorson, Michael Ann Barrett, Jack Petruzzi, Barbara Fuller, Herbert Ellis, and Marvin Miller. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino and Carl Fortina. Be sure to join us on Monday night, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
June 22nd, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank this station. Support their advertisers. Tell your friends the greatest radio shows of all time. Right here at this spot on the dial, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.